What are signs that someone truly loves you and it's not just lust? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. It depends. I've been in relationships where my partner was given a choice to either get their together or lose me because they were hurting me or our family with their behavior. I left the guy who said he'd change, then got mad at me for lovingly encouraging him on his path to self-improvement, manage his anger problem, get his GED, etc. My husband, on the other hand, took it to heart. His ADHD depression was making him lash out and scare me and our daughter, and he was being a grumpy and he has taken huge steps to improve his attitude without me holding his hand. He didn't want to lose me, and I didn't want to lose him. But I needed him to figure out his because I was done enabling his behavior and doing his emotional labor. He is a smart and capable man and is now a much better version of himself, a man I enjoy spending time with and our daughter loves to be near. That's love, that's maturity. I'm so happy he listened. Story 2. A lot of things can be done strategically to get someone in bed. People fake romantic interest all the time to get laid. It's part of the game. They follow the steps, they do the things, they even spend the time. But what they rarely do is remember to be enthusiastic about sharing their hobbies and interests. That usually doesn't progress the getting laid agenda and in fact is a bit nerdy and annoying. But it's the kind of thing you do around people you genuinely like and enjoy being around. Maybe that's not the best example, but look for things that don't progress the agenda, things that are honest and genuine parts of him that he's willing to share about himself, even if they don't make him look sexier. Story 3. Lust can turn into love. Ours did, 47 years ago. 100% I would never have met my fiancée if I didn't want to see her glorious and lowered onto my face. We spent 6 days in bed going all over each other before I finally took her out for another date. We talked about serious stuff for the first time, and it turns out we wanted all the same things. 2 years later, she said yes. Now I get to eat that beautiful booty forever, ha ha ha. Story 4. When you get so sick you shit yourself jumping out of bed and spray over the bed and walls like a fire hose, and your partner gets you to the shower, then changes the bed sheets and scrubs the wall after taking you to the hospital so you hopefully never know how bad it was. Then bring you a new laptop in the hospital loaded with your 5 shows. Yes, I did this. I loved him so much and everyone got sick. Story 5. My mom always said that when you truly love someone, you'll take care of them when they're sick. I think about that a lot. It's not about sex, just about being kind and loving. When I was 10, my dad had a huge stroke. For 16 years, my mom took care of him. She promised him she wouldn't put him in a nursing home, and she kept that promise. It was tough, but she did it. She worked full-time, raised 2 kids, and took care of him. He needed help with everything, like getting dressed and eating. He died 2.5 years ago, and she still misses him. The holidays are hard for her because he passed away right after New Year's. Writing this makes me tear up. Growing up with a disabled dad was tough, but he was a great guy. I miss him a lot. Story 6. I think it's the small stuff that really shows love. Like when someone puts 3 ice cubes in your drink because they know that's how you like it. Or they make sure your favorite shirt is clean and wrinkle-free for a special day. They leave little notes or say sweet things just to make you smile. They even wear the perfume or cologne you love, even if they prefer another. When they make decisions, they think about how you'd feel first. They can't wait to tell you when something happens. It's these small acts that show you're always on their mind. It's not about big fancy gestures all the time because those can be faked. True love is about blending your wants and needs with theirs, making sure both of you are happy and cared for. Story 7. They're always there, even in your downtimes. You know that feeling when a few months pass by and you never really got the chance to talk to your friends and you never went out because of life and stuff? I know truly they're in love with me because even in this truly busy lifestyle of ours, they take the time out of their day to text something cute and say good morning and good night whenever they can. Story 8. They do not feed into one single bad habit you have, even if they share the same once with you. They'll stop for you. and they'll prevent you from continuing these habits too. I think that's a solid indicator. Most people driven by lust are cravers for instant gratification. They are fueled by partners who provide this for them, particularly through bad habits. As the relationship progresses, these habits spiral out of control, and that's when the lust dies, when shit hits the fan. In my experience, anyway. Story 9. Not pushing you into things that are lustful by nature, like sexual things. But that has to be long-term. Some people will be respectful but lustful, but if it's something that keeps going with none of that lustfulness attached, no anger when you refuse sexual advances, no disappointment or silent treatment for it. That's how you know my fiancé was my first experience with someone who didn't see me as just a body. And whenever I said no, or when I had to stop for my comfort, they would stop. They would hold me, ask if I'm okay, and if I needed something. There was never anger or disappointment, never any bad feelings, only affection. It's how I knew. Story 10. I have this weird one which I figured out a few years ago, how you guys behave when the other falls sick. This will go both ways. If you don't have the desire to take care of the other while they're sick, or if you don't want them around when you're sick, that's your sign right there. I've noticed this colossal difference between girls I actually liked versus those I thought I liked. For the latter, I'd feel even more nauseous if I thought I'd have to deal with their presence in my condition. Conversely, when I've genuinely liked her despite some initial resistance, I'd give in to let her come over and I'd actually feel cared for as well. Story 11. Lust looks like love until it's time to sacrifice. I've followed that rule now for a couple of years and it seems like it rings true. This is short and simple and hits pretty well. Love is when you support each other and want the best for the other person. You help them change for the better. They help you to change for the better. Together you become better people, have a better life, and are more happy. An example making the sacrifice part more visible. I sacrifice my free afternoon to buy stuff, cook, and make a nice dinner, and evening plan for my partner, because I know my partner had a long day, comes home late, and will be exhausted. This makes life much better for my partner and helps at easing the hard day into a good ending. And my partner did the same for me in the past and will do in the future. We encourage each other to push for our dreams, which is proactive and takes time and energy, and support each other at reaching them. I had a not so good relationship in the past. In that one, I felt held back. When the relationship ended, I noticed it is much easier for me to reach my dreams without getting held back from my ex. It is totally different with my current partner. With my current partner, it is easier to reach my goals and dreams because of the support I get. That's the difference. When I talk about the past, then I mean like 15 years ago. I'm with my partner for almost 10 years now and our bond grows only stronger. Story 12. One day about 2 months into dating, my ex-girlfriend came out of the bathroom after her shower with nothing but a towel wrapped around her hair. I thought I was getting lucky until I noticed the concerned look on her face and she goes, "Feel this," take my hand and pushes my fingers into the side of her breast. There was a small hard lump. We both just looked at each other and I said, "We need to get that checked out tomorrow." Not you, we. English wasn't her first language, so I took the time the next morning to call doctors and explain until one would see her. I blocked out my work schedule, I work for myself, and drove her to the appointment, which ended up being 3 days later. I asked her if she wanted me to come in with her and she said no, and that it was okay. As I sat in that waiting room waiting for her, I had the, what if this is the C word thought process. I pictures her bald, skinny, pale, and thought to myself, I would stick by her through that. I pictured my life without her and started tearing up. That's when I knew I loved her. She came out of the back of the office and flashed a slight smile in my direction as she walked through the door and said, "We'll know in a couple days." Luckily, it ended up being a benign cyst, but that week or so of not knowing what was going on was one of the scariest times of my life and hers. After we got the news, I took her to a nice celebratory dinner at a fancy Brazilian steakhouse. She was Brazilian, so it seemed fitting. We were giddy the whole dinner, and after we finished dessert, she was holding my hand on the table looking at me and goes, "Obrigado," thank you in Portuguese, under her breath, and I responded, "You're welcome, Gatina. I'm glad you like dinner." And she goes, "Not for dinner, for this week. I don't know how I would have gotten through it without you. Te amo." That was the first time she ever said, "I love you," in any language, let alone her native one. Though I hadn't told her how I felt that week, or how going through everything with her made me feel, I think she knew my actions said it all. I let the words linger for a second and responded, "I love you too. I still do love her even if we are no longer together, and will always wish her the absolute best." Story 13. On my husband's birthday 1 year ago, I was pregnant and suffering from random morning sickness. We went to get donuts for his birthday, and on the way home I suddenly felt sick. We couldn't stop the car, so I looked up when I barfed to try to avoid getting it on the donut box in my lap. I started bawling, and I felt so awful for ruining his birthday, but he did his best to reassure me and wasn't mad. He said it was the funniest thing he's ever seen. It was like a fountain. He still teases me about it, and it's been 6 years since then. I also needed a lot of help after that pregnancy because I didn't take it as well physically as my first one, and he was proactive and willingly helpful the entire time. Took me to the bathroom, helped me bathe, helped me deal with hemorrhoids, etc. He still calls me beautiful even though he's seen me at my nastiest. He hasn't run for the hills yet, and it's been almost 13 years. I don't know, I think that's a sign of love. Story 14. My partner tells me about things he loves about me that aren't just about my body. He says he loves the way I laugh, that it reminds him of Marge Simpson, that he loves when I stare at him because it makes him like a deer caught in the headlights. My eyes are cat-like, and he feels like a mouse about to be played with or consumed. Likewise, his actions show a similar story. When I cook, he comes in the kitchen to talk to me, helping me with more tedious tasks. When I have errands to run, he wants to come with, even if there's nothing particularly for him to do. We could talk about anything, nothing, everything. There's always something to talk about with us. And we're both introverts, so it means a great deal that we could talk and not drain social batteries. He makes the bed for me. I could have the hardest day, but if the bed is made, it's a great comfort to me. He knows this and always makes it for me. I honestly wish everyone could have what my partner and I do. It's surreal. Story 15. Honestly, I can't tell you from the side of being loved because I've never experienced to be loved as much as I loved. From my perspective, I did everything I could when they needed me the most, neglecting my own needs and instinct because I truly loved. And even though it left marks on my soul, I'd always do it again. I think love isn't about not being hurt, but who's worth the pain. My parents today are married for 45 years. My dad still loves my mom so incredibly, he'd die instantly without a single thought to save her if she needed something. Has a really tough guy and always been my hero for the way he treated my mom and cared about his family no matter what. I have only seen him cry a couple times in my entire life, and it's always been because of her nearly losing her mind of mental illness. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below.